All right. So, Bayou Bengal Builders. Bayou Bengal Builders is the premier contractor for institutional and commercial construction. We are based in Louisiana, have been doing this type of work for over 30 years, and we have many projects across the nation. Our motto is built with honor to stand the test of time, and we go by that to not only complete projects on time, on budget, but with safety in mind every step of the way. With that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Annalise for our quick safety moment.
Thank you, Adam. At Bayou Bengal Builders, safety is our #1 concern, so we always like to start our meetings with the safety moment. With steel erection being one of our biggest milestones on this project, we're going to make sure that everybody has the proper PPE and equipment to execute this safely. Next, everyone will be wearing everything from hard hats down to safety glasses, masks, steel-toe boots, protective clothing, all of the above. Also, with the COVID-19 things going on, everyone will be temperature tested before entering site. And as long as you are in abidance with the CDC guidelines, you'll be given a colored wristband, and the colors change each day so that we know everyone's being temperature tested each day. And then this chart you can see is our organization chart. Today we have myself, Annalise Robito, we have Adam as our project manager, Kirsten and John here to help us present our bid to you all today. So I'm going to throw it back to Adam to continue talking about Bayou Bengal Builders' background.
Thanks, Annalise. Bayou Bengal Builders, like I said, has been the premier contractor for institutional and also commercial construction, not only in Louisiana, but across the nation. With that being said, we've completed many projects in the Nashville area, one of which is the Davidson County Criminal Justice Center. This project was valued at $113 million, was located in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, and was able to house over 1,000 inmates, covering over 405,000 square feet of new construction. Moving on, we have the Music City Center expansion in 2017. This was valued at $19.9 million, was also in Nashville, Tennessee, and consisted of new concourse space, enclosed ballrooms, and construction of a food and beverage outlet. As you can see, we have much experience in the public sector, building very public objects where many people will be able to see it, whether it's for the government or private entities. And we take pride in being able to complete these projects on time. Moving on, this project, the Fred D. Thompson United States Courthouse and Federal Building, as we know, it's located in downtown Nashville, Tennessee. Our total estimated cost is $93,899,000. According to our RFQ, our estimated mobilization date is April 23rd, 2020. Our estimated project duration is 504 calendar days, and the estimated date of substantial completion is September 9th, 2021. With that being said, as you can see, we have a very short duration, and John will talk a little bit more about how we're able to achieve such a rapid close date. So a few of our most important work sequences on the job site is excavation, steel erection, and precast concrete. We chose these three because during excavation, it's one of the few times when only one trade is on site and they take up the entire site. So this is a very significant scope of work, and if something were to be delayed, it could significantly impact the project. So that's why we put it as our number one work sequence. Our second work sequence is steel erection. Steel erection is because it involves a lot of logistical challenges with working in downtown Nashville, large heavy equipment such as large crawler cranes, and also it's one of the most hazardous forms of work that will be conducted on the job site. Lastly, we have precast. Precast we chose as our third most important sequence of work due to if there's a delay in the precast or problems, it could hold up the finish out of the interior building. So moving on, I'm going to pass it back to Annalise with safety.
Thank you, Adam. This year is listed as our top 5 safety hazards, but first I want to touch back on COVID-19. Just wanted to say again that we're abiding by all CDC guidelines, and we'll take all precautions to make sure everyone is abiding by the rules and following all the guidelines safely and properly. Next, we're going to talk about unauthorized personnel and vehicles on site. Unauthorized persons include but are not limited to tourists and homeless people. We understand that the location of the project is in downtown Nashville, and there's a large homeless population as well as a large tourist population. So we barricaded our site to make sure that no one has easy access on site. In the case that someone does get on site, then we will obviously tell them to remove themselves from the site to make sure that they are not exposed to any unnecessary harm or hazard. Next is unauthorized vehicles. So if anyone is parked on site, they'll be towed. Also, scooters, electric scooters downtown are very prominent in Nashville, especially in our area. People ride, like tourists specifically, usually ride the electric scooters around town, and they can be unsafe. So we have a 15-foot perimeter around our site that deactivates the scooters so that they can't get too close to site going too fast and potentially injure themselves. Next, we're going to talk about handling, material handling and lifting. So we're going to have all of our employees trained properly on how to lift materials, have the proper equipment to help lift materials, and we participate in team lifting to help each other lift bulkier things to mitigate any type of injury that may occur. Next, we have excavation and trenching. And excavation, we'll be doing it on site, and whenever we're going to have the area barricaded so that no one has a potential risk of falling in or getting injured too easily. And we'll also have a competent person watching the excavation go on, so that has a minimum of 5 years experience of the type of material being used, just to make sure that we further ensures safety. Furthermore, we have site navigation, and basically we're going to be having a lot of deliveries occurring and everything, so we're going to make sure that all of our entry points, our driveways, our loading docks, etc., are all clear and safe and ready for deliveries at all time to mitigate any confusion or hazard at any time, really. And then lastly, we're going to talk about aerial lifts. So we're going to have aerial lifts on site, and anytime they need to be moved, or need to be fully retracted, moving at a slow, steady speed to make sure no one gets injured or the equipment does not get damaged as well. So now I am going to ask John if you could tell us a little bit about our QA/QC plan.
Thanks, Annalise. At BBB, we take pride in performing on time, and not only on time, but quality work from start to finish. We have received ISO 9001 certifications, reduced turnovers, the number of NCRs from years prior. At Bengal Builders, we have utilized preparatory inspections, follow-up inspections, final inspections, and a punch list phase to ensure that all of our work is done with in a quality manner, and that they meet owner standards. We also recognize the hard work and exceptional quality put forth by all our craftsmen and tradesmen on the project. To show our appreciation each year, BBB hosts our company appreciation banquet. We award our trade partners with our awards for outstanding quality, workmanship, and efficient workmanship, as well as productivity. Kirsten, could you explain our estimating portion and cost allocation part of this project?
Sure, John. When we approached this project, we decided to price it by division. So major costs were metals and concrete divisions, which should be no surprise since the building is largely structural steel and concrete. Concrete costs were just over $13 million, and metals were just under $14 million. Exterior improvements also contributed to the largest portion of cost allocated, coming in just above $19 million. And that division was asphalt and concrete paving, concrete sidewalls, landscaping and irrigation. We were able to complete an extensive estimate in all divisions thanks to our work previously in the area with the Davidson County Criminal Justice Center and the Music City Center expansion. Both buildings had aspects of concrete, steel, and exterior involvement similar to the courthouse that we'd be managing. All divisions came to a subtotal of 78 million, and other costs including general conditions, owner contingency, builder's risk, bonds, contractor's fees totaled up to 15 million. After careful consideration of everything, the final project cost came to 93 million. And now we'll move from costs allocated to scheduling and project management. John, will you take this one?
Sure. Yes, Kirsten. At BBB, staying within our timeframes and meeting our milestones is very important to us. With that being said, we've been able to create a schedule that will accelerate our construction process. We have split many of our larger activities into 2 phases. Steel erection and precast, as you can see in the slide, are 2 substantial parts of the project. Therefore, we decided to simultaneously complete phase 1 of steel erection and phase 1 of precast erection, as well as phase 2 of each activity. We have designed our site utilization plan to accommodate this, which will allow us to cut down on our scheduled duration. Bayou Bengal Builders will be capable of fulfilling the construction and closeout of the Fred D. Thompson Courthouse in 504 calendar days. Adam, could you tell us a little bit about the site utilization of the project?
Sure thing, John. So in our first phase of construction, we will, as you can see here, we have the limits of excavation. As I spoke about earlier, excavation will take up a majority of the site. Once excavation is complete, we will start on concrete foundations. As the foundations rise out of the ground, in the green area in our north wing of the building, steel erection will begin. As you can see, we have a few crane pads laid out and also designated laydown areas to keep materials within reach of the cranes. Also, as you can see, we have 2 offices, one for subcontractor and inspectors and one for Bayou Bengal Builder personnel at the bottom. Phase 2, the site changed a little bit. As the north side, or the green area, has steel already erected, the precast crawler crane will arrive, and we will lay out mats to create areas for the cranes to travel up and down the side of the building to reach all areas of the facade. On the south side, in the blue area, you can see there is a long crane pad along one side of the structure to allow for the crawler crane to reach all areas to complete structural steel concurrently to precast being done on the north side. With this, this is how we achieve our accelerated date, having 2 major trades going on at the same time. Phase 3, as you can see, all the crane pads on the north wing disappear, and there is only one left on the right side of the building here, so that the precast crawler crane can reach everything and finish with the facade. As you can see, we take cranes very seriously. We understand they're very large pieces of equipment, very expensive to rent, and can be very dangerous in certain situations. So we expect out 2 cranes to be able to handle the loads that we will be expecting on the job site safely and efficiently. With that, this is our presentation on why we are the most suitable contractor to win this job. Thank you for your time.
All right. Well, thank you for that. With that, we'll go ahead and start with a few questions, and we'll do a round robin, kind of going through the judges panel with any questions that anyone has. I'll lead it off with a quick one, just kind of jumping right into the estimate and the value of the job. On your detailed breakdown of cost, you guys have 2 numbers for commissioning. You have a $45,000 number, looks like, for commissioning agent, and an $85,000 number for commissioning services. But on your recap, you're only showing $75,000 total. Can you just explain which of those numbers we should take as correct? Is it the 45 and 85 combined, or is it the $75,000 number on the recap?
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, but it's 75 for, you said for commissioning?
Yeah, so if you're looking at page 16, out of 104 of your guys' proposal that you turned in?
Gotcha. We had two numbers for commissioning and HVAC, the 75,000 in addition to the 4,878,000 number. So it should be a total of, for like mechanical, it should be 4,953,000. That's like our final number for that. Does that clear things
so
up?
that includes all your, that includes all your commissioning services then and everything that you'd be responsible for?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Amanda, do you and your team have any questions you want to jump into?
Yeah, I've got a quick question for you guys. You guys did a really good job in your site plan and going through foundations and then structural steel. I didn't really see much discussion, however, on the rotunda. Where does the rotunda fit into the rest of your sequencing, with it being a focal point for us in the GSA? What is the sequence for the rotunda to get built out?
Honestly,
Okay, no, never mind. Go ahead, John.
go ahead, Kirsten. You can go ahead.
No, you're good.
The rotunda would be mostly towards the later part of our job or the project, mainly because we're going to use that part for, we're going to have cranes there, we're going to have lay down yard there, so we're going to wait to the end to do the rotunda. And I think Adam may know more, a little bit more on this because he's the one that did the site utilization plan, so he can kind of tell you what's happened with that.
Yeah, so like John mentioned, the rotunda will be about 5/8 through the project is when they'll start that. Just due to like we talked about before, is the large equipment that'll be on site, especially the two crawler cranes that we'll have. Towards the end, when only one crane will be on site, that's when the rotunda will be constructed and finished and worked on, just due to the space requirements to build two large crawler cranes on site. So.
Okay, great. And one more question for you.
Real quick, since you're on the logistics, I just wanted to have a tag along question. Could you walk me through just your approach to having 3 phases you showed in the logistics and why you might have broke that out?
Yes. So actually, I'll go back to the slides real quickly. So in phase 1, excavation encompasses most of the site. So a lot of the building foundation is almost completely underground for most of it. And so during the first phase, excavation will be the main trade. And the reason we broke it out this way is we want 2 trades to be able to be working at the same time. So in our green area, we'll have foundations going up once excavation is complete. Once the foundations are complete in the green area, the foundation crews can move to the blue area on the south side. So that way we can start mobilizing and setting up for structural steel while foundations are being completed in the blue area. And even if in our schedule, we might have some overlap where they'll be setting the first columns in structural steel while the foundations in the blue area are still being finished on the very south side. With that, if we move into phase 2, this is showing that structural steel in the green area has been complete, and the crane that we were using for structural steel will move to working on the blue area in the south side of the project, and a second crane will come and be set up for it to be used on the green area for precast. And as you can see, we have crane paths set up, so where crane mats will be laid down and leveled out the ground, so there will be no risk of uneven ground or soft ground that the crane will be on. As you can see, our laydown yards on the north side will be there to keep all the precast and even structural steel within the reach of the cranes. So there's no reason that the crane should ever have to swing over public streets or anything, putting people at risk. The crane should always be able to reach everything within the limits of the job site. going into the last phase, this is showing in the green area on the north side that precast has been complete there, and in the blue area, structural steel has been complete, and the crane that was being used for precast will move down and set all the precast panels around the south side of the job site. And so with that being said, in the green area, some interior work can begin because of all the precast is done on the outside. So such as glazing, that could begin simultaneously as precast is going up on the south side of the building. And these three phases right here really accelerate our schedule because it really condenses the amount of work that's going on the job site. An important thing here to note is, so while structural steel is going on, it's very important to keep those two activities separate. So there'll be fencing and red tape around the structural steel operations, making sure, precast workers aren't walking into structural steel, operations, just for that added measure of safety. We want to keep the trade separate, but working at the same time to achieve that 504 days of construction there. So that's how we achieved our phasing, or kind of broke it out.
Okay, thank you.
Want to piggyback off of that?
Sure, go for it.
So you guys were talking about cranes a minute ago. How long do you guys plan on having a crane on site?
Actually, I'll take this question. Because structural steel, as you can see in this crane plan, we have one crane with a luffing jib here for structural steel. This crane will be on site for about 8 weeks. In the precast crawler crane, as you can see on the right here, this crane will be on site for about 7 weeks. With that being said, the crane for structural steel will show up about 4 weeks before the crane for precast, and the crane for precast will stay almost 2.5 weeks after the crane for structural steel leaves. So there'll be a period of about 5 or 6 weeks where both cranes are on site, but one shows up 4 weeks earlier, and then the last crane will leave about 2.5 weeks after the first crane leaves. So.
Okay, and the reason I was asking that question is, in your estimate, you showed 2.5 months of one crane and one crane operator. So how do you guys plan to cover the delta between the two?
Right. So
The delta in
with
cost.
the crane operators will trade off depending on when the work is going to be carried out. That also entails the assist crane that'll be needed to assemble or erect and de-rig both the cranes when the time to move them or demobilize the cranes are. So we've taken that into consideration in our estimate as well.
Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna continue on Andrew's. I gotta cut. So your durations seem pretty expeditious for precast and steel. What's your guide? So just based on what you guys said and looking at the drawings, looks like you're doing about 120 precast panels a day and 550 steel members a day. Are you guys working 2 shifts, or what's the plan there?
John, I'll let you take this one.
So I did, on the schedule, I did put some extra time in for precast because, and steel, did y'all allocate for that extra time with that number y'all got for the steel and precast per day?
Adam, why don't you pull up the schedule graphic?
Yeah, they're the schedule.
There's the extra time you put in for precast.
So let me see. So, if you look at the schedule, it's a little bit more of a, accurate representation. On here, you can't really see the exact dates, but I did put, so this the south wing and north wing precast, the north wing precast and north wing steel erection are going to go until these are done. These don't exactly start. We can start preparing the equipment, but we're not going to exactly start the south wing until we're pretty much almost done with this, because we won't have, we only allocated for so much equipment, so we can't just pull equipment out from anywhere. But anyway, so this will probably, in the P6 graph, you can see that phase two, which is the south wing, doesn't start until the north wing's finished. So we do have some extra time in that P6 schedule for that.
Okay. And then you guys also accounted for the exterior glazing that has to go on after the precast, correct? I hear a lot about the crane or however you guys are going to install that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And wanted to just jump back to one of the schedule questions. I don't know that I heard an answer for it, but so with the work, are you guys planning on doing shift work and having multiple shifts working to meet your durations?
We're going to play it on an as needed basis. Adam, I'll give it to Adam on this one.
So on the schedule, we plan on working 5/10s. However, it is not out of the question to do work on the weekends or past 5/10s to maybe do 5/12s on certain weeks. That is all contingent on weather and just on deliveries. Sometimes deliveries can be delayed, and if we need to work a little more to get the job done, we're more than willing to do that, and that's also in the budget and overhead. So.
All right. And if you guys don't end up needing that, is that budget overhead amount that you guys have allocated for some of that overtime and stuff a credit that you'd be able to give back to us at the end of the job if you end up not needing it?
Yes, sir. Yes, definitely.
All right. Very good.
Right.
Amanda or
Jordan,
Daniel, any last questions? Sorry.
yeah, I've got a couple for you guys. Yeah, so on the previous experience, the majority of the work that you guys have done is not federal. It looks like there's one federal project that was listed in the resumes, but it was $18 million. So what do you guys see as the biggest challenge going from the past experience that you do have working with more local municipalities to working with federal government?
More documentation. With the federal government, you're going to have a lot more documentation. So we're prepared for that. Adam?
I can take
Definitely.
this one.
Okay.
We've people in admin that have worked in other federal applications, and we have connections with our subcontractors that have worked in it as well. So we're going to be heavily relying on them to be our specialists and to guide us through the process.
Okay. And then one last question for me. It looked like you guys had chose to self-perform the finishes scopes based on your proposal. Is that still your intention? And looking at the schedule, that becomes critical path around the time that conditioned air hits. So you guys do still intend on doing finishes as self-perform? What do you see as the biggest challenge?
So yes, we do still intend on completing finishes ourselves. The biggest challenge is, as I mentioned before, precast and glazing is definitely one of our critical path items. If those get delayed, that could significantly impact interior finishes such as drywall, paintwork, things like that. So that is definitely one of our biggest challenges with that. Another one would be just being able to finish out the complex interior of the like flooring and things like that. I know there's quite a few designs in the floor and different materials being used. we have definitely discussed definitely long lead times for some of those items. So we're definitely prepared to have plenty of time allotted for ordering and getting material on site. And that goes back to our site utilization plan, having those lay down yards on the north side, keeping the material close to the front entrance of the building, really, helps cut down on the amount of time that, wasted time from moving material from, the south side to the north side. Whereas with lay down yards on the north side of the building, we can just drop the material in place and have it there for the workers immediately. So.
Thank you.
All right,
And then
well, thanks
really
for
quick,
that.
Annalise, I just want to great job pointing out the very specific things from a safety standpoint that we deal with in downtown Nashville. So good job on that.
Thank you.
Scooters and homeless people.
All right. Well, that does it for time. We're out of time, but I wanted to go ahead and thank you all, from all the judges, for all the effort you put in back in March and February and April, getting everything together, facing these challenges, taking the time out of your summer schedule to go ahead and participate in the step 3. Really appreciate all the hard work that you guys have done, and it shows through. So be proud of yourselves for that. We will look forward to seeing you and your whole team tomorrow for the debrief, where Amanda and her team will give you kind of a deep dive on the project and the challenges they face building it. And then we'll look forward to hearing some questions from you guys for us. So thanks again for your time.
Thank you,
All right.
guys.
Great job.
Thank you.
Everyone.